The sky was an unbroken expanse of gray, the kind of foreboding shroud that heralded chaos and bloodshed. Under this oppressive canopy, the great heathen army, an assemblage of Norse warriors from across Scandinavia, marched with unyielding determination. Their destination, the fertile lands of Wessex, where King Alfred's forces awaited them. The year was 865 AD, a year that would be seared into the annals of history as the dawn of a relentless Viking onslaught. At the forefront of this fearsome host strode Ivar the Boneless, a chieftain whose name alone struck terror into the hearts of his enemies. His gaunt frame belied the iron will and strategic genius that had forged the great heathen army into an unstoppable force. Beside him walked his brothers, Halfdan and Ubbi, their loyalty to each other as unwavering as their thirst for conquest. As they advanced through the rolling hills and dense woodlands of southern England, the Viking warriors prepared for battle in their own ways. Some sharpened their axes and swords, their keen edges glinting menacingly in the dim light. Others, like the hulking berserkers, painted their faces with the blood of their enemies, invoking the fury of Odin and Thor. Their chants and war cries echoed through the camp, a cacophony of rage and fervor that reverberated in the hearts of their comrades. Ivar stood atop a small rise, surveying the expanse of the enemy territory. His piercing blue eyes missed nothing, taking in every detail of the landscape. He knew that the coming battle would be pivotal. It was not merely a clash of arms, but a struggle for dominance and survival. "Brothers," Ivar called out, his voice carrying over the encampment. "Tonight, we feast as men of the North. Tomorrow, we claim this land as our own." A roar of approval rose from the ranks, and the Vikings settled into their evening routines. Fires crackled and spit, casting flickering shadows across the ground. Warriors shared tales of past glories and future aspirations, their laughter mingling with the distant howl of wolves. In the heart of the camp, a small group of warriors sat around a fire, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames. Among them was Bjorn Ironside, a formidable warrior whose exploits were already the stuff of legend. Beside him sat Sigurd Snake in the Eye, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous intensity. "Tell us, Bjorn," Sigurd said, his voice low and gravelly. "What do you see in the omens for tomorrow's battle?" Bjorn stared into the fire, his expression unreadable. "The gods favor us, Sigurd, but they also test us. We must be cunning and ruthless, for our enemies are not without their own strengths." Sigurd nodded, a feral grin spreading across his face. "Then let us show them what it means to face the wrath of the North." The next morning dawned with a blood-red sky, as if the heavens themselves bled in anticipation of the coming carnage. The great heathen army formed up in their ranks, a sea of steel and leather, their breath misting in the chill air. Ivar and his brothers rode along the front lines, rallying their troops with words of encouragement and promises of glory. As they neared the battlefield, the Vikings could see the Saxon army arrayed before them, a disciplined and well-armed force. King Alfred's banners fluttered in the breeze, a symbol of defiance and determination. The clash was inevitable. With a thunderous roar, the Vikings surged forward, their axes and swords raised high. The ground shook beneath their feet as they collided with the Saxon shield wall, a brutal and unyielding barrier. The sound of metal on metal rang out, accompanied by the cries of the wounded and dying. Ivar fought with a ferocity that belied his crippled legs, his sharp mind directing the flow of battle with uncanny precision. Halfdan and Ubbe carved through the enemy ranks, their axes hewing flesh and bone with relentless efficiency. Bjorn and Sigurd, fighting side by side, were a whirlwind of death and destruction, their movements perfectly synchronized. The battle raged on, each side giving no quarter. Saxons fought with the desperation of men defending their homes. The Vikings' ferocity and skill began to tip the scales. Slowly but surely, the great heathen army pushed forward, their momentum unstoppable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the battlefield was a scene of utter devastation. The Saxon army lay broken and defeated, their banners trampled in the mud. King Alfred, though wounded, managed to escape the carnage, vowing to return and reclaim his land. The Vikings stood victorious, their bloodied weapons raised in triumph. The great heathen army had secured another victory, their legend growing ever larger with each passing day. Ivar looked upon the field of battle, his heart swelling with pride. He knew that their journey was far from over, but in that moment, he allowed himself to savor the sweetness of victory. For the Vikings, the war was a way of life, and they would continue to carve their saga into the annals of history, one bloody battle at a time.